Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started.
Hey, last episode we were talking about when loving kindness can taste like bitter medicine. And I was making the argument that it is a bitter medicine that we nonetheless need to take. And hey, actually the good news is that even if loving kindness, the practice of loving kindness starts out tasting like bitter medicine, the more we practice it, the more we get into it, the better it begins to taste. You see, and you get to a point where you begin to realize that, hey, actually, it's not bitter at all. It's actually very, very sweet. It's lovely. It's health promoting. It's just health promoting, like allows me to really cultivate inner peace and joy in my life in really deep, deep ways. What could be more awesome than that? But there is that time period that we need to go through of adjustment. You see, when it's like if you continue to use this drink analogy, it's like, hey, maybe, like, think about it. Like, maybe what's actually happened is that we've been drinking that poison for so long that we have forgotten what sweet stuff tastes like. It's like impacted the very taste buds and how those taste buds process the stimuli that they receive. And so it takes them a little of time to readjust and find a new sense of balance. And then as they do, it's like, oh, actually what's happening is that the way loving kindness makes us feel inner peace and joy, that's really the way we are always meant to feel. That was really how we were always meant to experience life and our emotions and our relationships, how we are always, ideally, like in if you were to always be reacting in the best, most ideal ways, that this is how you would experience life, with loving kindness that leads to inner peace and joy for us. And I say, it leads to inner peace and joy for us. It's like, meaning like inner peace and joy for me. But it's like, but what about that other person? What about that other person? This is like another one of those things about the loving kindness meditation that, and not just actually in the context of the loving kindness meditation, because but in general, this whole principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, love for others what you would love for yourself. I mean, talked about this. This is a golden rule, and it is incorporated in the teachings of pretty much every faith tradition, every spiritual tradition in the world. And it certainly sounds all very nice. And it's like really awesome to think about, when we're thinking about lovely, wonderful, beautiful things, in terms of loving for others, love and peace, and we are feeling at love and peace and everything's good. And the thing is that, hey, the loving kindness meditation is just a practical application of this principle. Right? So, if you agree with this principle, that this is a good way for us to be, a moral and ethical way for us to be, for us to live, then it's like, okay, well, loving kindness meditation is just teaching us to practice that. To love for others what we love for ourselves. To want for others what we want for ourselves. To do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And wouldn't we want to, if I did wrong, wouldn't I want to be treated with loving kindness? Can't think about it for yourself. If you were the person who was in the wrong, wouldn't you want to be treated with loving kindness? I know I would. It's like, okay, wow, okay, that's all good. But hey, my gosh, okay. All that, replace the poison with the health drink talk aside. Because it's like, okay, fine. So yeah, I have a need to feel inner peace and that's all good. But I have other needs too. I have other needs too. I have a need for justice to be done. I have a need, I have a strong need for justice to be done. And if I, really give in to all this way of thinking of, let's be all loving kind towards everybody, regardless of who they are and what they might have done to us even, or our loved ones, it's like, it's like, what about justice? What about punishing people for when they've done wrong? What about holding them accountable for when they've done wrong? Because otherwise, aren't we just letting them go? And if you just let these people go, then doesn't that encourage them to keep doing the wrong that they've done? And what about, this instinct that we have that, look, if somebody's done wrong, they deserve some punishment. Like they deserve to feel bad, to suffer. They've caused suffering. They've caused pain. They deserve to suffer. It's like this eye for an eye. Hey, that's only fair. That's only justice. Right? So what about that? What about meeting these needs that we have? So this is a really, really important question that I know bothered me. And I know that it was one of those things also that sort of kept me from committing to the path of forgiveness, committing to the path of loving kindness. So it was a really important question. And I had to really begin to shift my perspective and really look at things from a deeper perspective and be like, well, if I'm practicing the golden rule and I'm following the path of forgiveness, the path of loving kindness, because, as per the golden rule, I know that's what I would love for myself. I would love forgiveness. I would love to be treated with loving kindness. If I was the one who had done something wrong, oh my God, if I was the one who had sexually abused a child, at one level, even the very thought of me abuse a child, like revolting, impossible. And yet, is it really? Is it really? We have this tendency to villainize, to dehumanize people. And especially, in the context of when someone's committed what we perceive to be a horrible crime. Because we want to believe, to know that we would never do such a thing. And that our loved ones would never do such a thing. Because if I truly believe that I was capable of sexually abusing a child, or that my loved ones, the people that I love and trust the most, are truly capable of doing something as horrible as sexually abusing a child, then how am I supposed to live with myself and live with these people that I love and trust right now? How am I supposed to be able to continue to love and trust them? I'd be in constant fear of everybody around me if I truly believed that any one of them is capable of hurting my child. Let's say, I don't have children right now, but if I was thinking from a parent's perspective, for example, or when I'm a child myself, it was like, oh really? Anybody can hurt me? I'd be in constant fear. How would I ever trust anyone? How would I even live with myself if I thought that I was capable of doing something that was so evil and so hurtful and so horrible? And I thought about it from that perspective. That, oh my gosh, this is an actual evil, horrible thing, and I'm capable of doing it. Oh my God, how am I going to live with myself? So it's like, my God, I don't think I could. I don't think I could live with myself. I don't think I could live with all the people around me if I truly believed that each and every one of us, including myself, is capable of the same horrible crime. So basically, what am I to do? It's like, it's a defense mechanism. Really, it's a defense mechanism that we employ. We distance ourselves, to protect ourselves from this possibility, this horrible possibility of accepting the idea that I may be capable of committing such heinous crimes, that my loved ones may be capable of committing such heinous crimes. I need to protect myself from this idea, and what better way to do it, or easier way, I should say, to do it, than to be like, oh, you know what? I'm just not like that person, because that person is evil. That person is crazy. That person is bad, and I'm not. the people that I love and trust are not. And so I would never do what this bad, evil, crazy person did. And my loved ones, because they're not bad, evil, crazy people either, they're not going to act like that either. So I can be safe and I can be fine. But is that really the truth? Is that the reality of our lives? No, it's not. I mean, look, this idea is just poof. It's just like, my God, every single crime that's committed, every single criminal that exists is somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's friend. My God, the person who abused me, me, myself, member of my extended family, somebody that I had loved actually and trusted, myself, and somebody that not only me as an innocent child who didn't know any better loved and trusted, but that everybody in my family loved and trusted. If they hadn't loved and trusted this person, why would they have let me be around him? Of course they wouldn't. You know? It's like we teach our children about stranger danger. You say, oh, stay away from strangers. Or if a stranger makes you feel uncomfortable, if a stranger makes you feel icky, like run, go ask for help. Tell your mom, tell your dad. And that's, by the way, really, really excellent advice. I'm not saying don't teach that to your kids. Teach that to your kids. It's very, very important advice. But is it enough to help them be aware of the stranger danger? Because the fact of the matter is that in my case, there was no stranger danger. There was no stranger. And yet, I was in danger. The fact of life, as we know it, is that 8 out of every 10 cases of sexual assault and abuse, 8 out of 10, 80%. Some people say as high as 90%. Are cases where the victim and the perpetrator knew each other. They knew each other. And if you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Because again, we have all been taught and trained to be aware of stranger danger. We go to all kinds of great lengths to protect ourselves from the stranger danger. But to some extent, this is a myth. It's a myth to the extent that it's not the complete picture, it's not the complete truth. The fact of the matter is that even the people that we love and trust can hurt us. They can make decisions that deeply, deeply hurt us, that deeply violate our boundaries, violate our sense of trust and safety. Happens all the time, in fact. 8 out of 10 times when a person experiences sexual assault, sexual abuse, it's happening. It's happening. It's just the fact of the lives that we are leading right now. So it's like, my gosh, it's because we're so caught up in this defense that we build up for ourselves of, oh, I couldn't possibly do something like this. My loved one couldn't possibly do something like that, because we are not bad, we are not evil, we are not crazy like those people, like those criminals, that we completely disregard the reality that the fact of the matter is that each and every one of us is capable of the same kind of love, the same kind of hate, the same kind of loving kindness, but also the same kind of atrocious and like just really horrible things. It's like we all have the same capacities, the same human capacities for good and evil. Remember, every single criminal, somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's sister, mother, father, friend, they are us, we are them, all is one. Everything's interconnected, everything's interdependent. So again, I will say to you, look, you don't want to go to the higher levels of, seeing things in terms of being all lovey-dovey and, like Martin Luther King was, coming from that place of deep compassion and love. And he said, I have no enemies. We have no enemies. Like maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're still in that stage of healing and growth where, you still are very much centered in your own concerns in a narrower way. So even for you, I will say that, look, it's in your best interest to acknowledge and to accept this fact that, wow, each one of us has exactly the same capacity for good and evil. And you see, this brings us back to that whole exercise of empathy. Remember when we started talking about forgiveness, the forgiveness process, and a big part of what it can require of us is to practice empathy. Because a lot of times it's not about who the person is that leads them to do what they did. A lot of times it's about the situation, the context, the environment within which that person is existing that leads them to do what they did. And if we were put in that same environment, in that same context, and subjected to the same kinds of experiences that this person was experiencing, and so on and so forth, it is very, 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 very likely that we might act in the same way that this person did. I mean, the power of context, the power of environment is that immense. And by the way, again, this is something that is being proven now, even through science. I mean, there's experiment after experiment after experiment that proves this fact that our environment, our context can in fact be much, much stronger than whatever we believe about our personalities. Whatever we believe is the truth about who we are as people in terms of the values that we hold and our natural tendencies to be loving, kind, or not. Power of context, the power of environment can change all of that about us and take us by surprise, even in the ways that we ourselves act. I'm looking at the time and, I'm going to go ahead, wrap up right here for today. This is a really important point, so I'm going to pick up on it tomorrow or in our next episode. Hey, just FYI, I may miss a day or two because I am at another conference and I'm starting to get back to that sort of sleep-deprived place again. Particularly because this is also my month of fasting. As a Muslim, I fast 1 month every year. And during this month of fasting, I'm not allowed to eat or drink from dawn to sunset. And we also offer, a lot of extra prayer, engage in extra worship. And part of the challenge is not that you're just abstaining from food and drink, but also that we are abstaining from all kinds of bad habits and bad tendencies that we have. So we are meant to be on our best behavior, practice being on our best behavior, right? So getting sleep deprived during this month is a very common phenomenon, and well, you know what? I have to again enter into that balancing act between self-care and taking care of all other responsibilities that I have. So I'm just letting you know this time, rather than just disappearing on you, that you may find me missing a little bit more in the next few days than not, although my intention is to stay consistent with this podcast and continue to put out daily or almost daily episodes. So I look forward to reconnecting with you ideally tomorrow, but just in case that doesn't happen, really, really soon. All right. So until we connect again, I wish you lots of peace and joy.